It's Wednesday, September 4, 2019, and this is Globespan 24x7 News. My name is Samuel Suknandan, coming to you live from Georgetown, Guyana. Here are the major headlines for today. The government failed to put sound plan in place for bridge mishap, says Edgel. Application for cabinet's resignation set for hearing on September 9. No election timelines finalized by GCOM. ID cards being discussed. Over 800 scholarships granted to indigenous students, and CDC activates response mechanism to support the Bahamas. We start off tonight's news by telling you that investigations into the American Airlines incident last month, where the wheels were damaged while taking off, have been completed, but the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority is still awaiting a final report. Director of the GCAA, Lieutenant Colonel retired Egbert Fields, disclosed to the media that the report has to be submitted to the Public Infrastructure Minister David Paterson for review before any findings and recommendations can be announced. According to Fields, it must be noted that the Chetty Jagan International Airport, CGIA, is currently undergoing construction, as is the runway, so there were various variations in the lighting systems. He stated that the locations for the lights were known by the pilots. It was previously reported that over 100 passengers on an outgoing flight bound for the U.S. were left stranded after the American Airlines aircraft tires were reportedly slashed by ill-placed lights on the runway. Although the Demerara Harbour Bridge is now back in operation, an opposition member of parliament claims that the situation could have been better dealt with had a contingency plan been put in place. Here's that report.
On Monday, the start of the new school year, chaos erupted after a barge crashed into the Demerara Harbour Bridge, rendering it inoperable. This accident resulted in a massive confusion as persons from both ends of the river were unable to get across to attend to daily business and normal routines. Persons instead rushed the water taxi system at both the Stabroek and Wiedenhoop stellings in an effort to go about their daily business. This was the only option available at the time. But even this was unable to proceed smoothly as thousands of Guyanese crowded the stellings with no semblance of order. Shadow Public Infrastructure Minister Ron Edghill today commented on this issue and stressed that a contingency plan should have been implemented to prevent such an incident from occurring.
The chaos that erupted as a result of that, in terms of getting people from the east side to the west side and from the west side to the east side, it is something that must be carefully managed.
The question of bringing back the ferry systems was pitched to Minister David Paterson, but according to him, the stellings are not in any condition to accommodate vessels at this time. In fact, both stellings were deemed unfit to cater for ferries several years ago. According to Edghill, this idea should not be abandoned. Instead, systems should be put into place so that vessels can assist in the event of a reoccurrence.
Any government, including a PPPC government, must put in place contingency plans to ensure that in the event that a bridge or a transportation link across the Demerara River is incapable or unable to operate, our wharves and stellings must be able to accommodate vessels that could move people, vehicles, and goods.
The issue has since been resolved as the Demerara Harbour Bridge is back in operation, but only allowing small vehicles to pass. Repairs are, however, still being conducted. Meanwhile, the owner of the barge that crashed into the bridge is expected to foot the repair cost. For Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day.
Thanks, Shakima. Government, through the Civil Defense Commission, CDC, has activated its response mechanism to facilitate assistance and support for the Caribbean island of the Bahamas, which has suffered devastating effects from Hurricane Dorian. Director General of the CDC, Lieutenant Colonel Kester Craig, said that he will be meeting with members of the Private Sector Commission on Thursday with the view of mobilizing and dispatching resources to the hurricane-ravaged island. He noted that the Minister of State, Don Haston Williams, has been updated on the situation and has already briefed Cabinet on Ghana's preparedness to respond. Lieutenant Colonel Craig said that the Disaster Emergency Management Agency, CDEMA, is monitoring the effects of Hurricane Dorian. The Rapid Needs Assessment Team RNAT, located in the Bahamas, has prepared a pre-impact analysis in collaboration with the national lead agencies, which is currently being reviewed by the government of the Bahamas through the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA. The devastation is reportedly unprecedented and extensive, with many homes, businesses, and other buildings completely or partially destroyed. According to the Director General, water pumps, bladder tanks, generators, and hygiene kits were the immediate needs identified by the country, but the most appropriate need at this time is financial support. He noted that the CDC plans to establish accounts at various commercial banks in Guyana so persons can make donations for relief efforts in the island. The account's information will be circulated as soon as they are made available. The monies raised would be used to support response teams deployed to establish and manage shelters and to procure relief supplies. The Commission will also be reaching out to Guyanese living in the Bahamas who were impacted through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to determine what level of support is needed. The Georgetown Chamber of Commerce continues to push for local businesses to equally benefit from the oil and gas sector and has therefore taken up U.S. Ambassador Sarah Ann Lynch on recent comments she made about the country's local content push. We'll tell you more in this report.
For example, some recent suggestions of a local content policy in Guyana may send a signal that some investors, as well as the employment and know-how benefits they bring, may not be welcome here. At a time of increasing integration, especially in a globalized energy sector, focusing on who owns a firm could be counterproductive. Rather, the emphasis should be on whether the firms, be they local, be they international, are following international best practices on critical matters, such as financial transparency, environmental protection, and otherwise acting in a manner that contributes directly to Guyana's overall sustainable prosperity.
Those were the comments made by U.S. Ambassador Sarah Ann Lynch at the recently held AmCham's annual general meeting. The ambassador stated that the call for a local content policy in Guyana deliberately sends a message to overseas investors that they are not needed. She opined that Guyana should look to foreign investors not as adversaries but as partners looking to help grow Guyana's economy. But despite this, the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce industry still stands firm on their call for local business to get a slice of the oil pie. Senior Vice President of GGCI, Timothy Tucker.
And her country's businesses. We are the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce, and we have to do what is best for Guyanese businesses, and in that way, that's why the Chamber has always been supportive of local content, because it is what is best for Guyanese businesses. I understand she has to protect her investors and her and the companies from that country that is coming. We all see that her president is very pro-local content. So why not for his country? So we are very well on track with our local content to be pro-local content.
With first oil months away, government has assured that its local content policy will be completed before then and has promised considerable focus on capacity development. The primary goal of this policy is to facilitate the active participation and development of Guyanese labor and suppliers in the petroleum sector and to give rise to benefits from expenditure in the sector on labor, goods, and services for Guyanese industry, the economy, and wider society. Reporting for Globespan 24x7 News, I am Abel Harris.
Thanks, Abel. We'll take a short break. Please stay tuned.
We would like to ask all of our faithful viewers to kindly like and follow Globespan 24x7 Facebook page and subscribe to Globespan 24x7 YouTube channel to receive up-to-date notifications of when we are live. Globespan 24x7 has vacancies for full-time positions such as reporters, newscasters, and news editors. Persons serious about joining a new and dynamic news team are asked to send their application to careers@globespantechnology.com. TravelSpan is pleased to announce special fares from New York to Guyana for Christmas. Seats are available to travel, and depending on which dates you choose, fares range from $8.49 to $11.69. These are limited block seats on American Airlines non-stop flight from JFK to Guyana. call 718-845-0437. That's 718-845-0437. Or book online at travelspan.com. Travelspan does have a payment plan, so travel plans, call Travelspan.
Welcome back. You're watching Globespan 24/7 News. Attorney-at-law Anil Nandalal's application for Cabinet and Government's resignation is slated to be heard on Monday, September 9 at the High Court. In the application filed on August 26, the former state attorney is seeking an order compelling Cabinet to resign, which is a direct consequence of the no-confidence motion passed against the government last December in accordance with Article 1066 of the Constitution. He is further seeking an order barring Cabinet from meeting and making decisions or performing their functions. This application comes 2 months after the CCJ addressed the functionality of government and its cabinet in light of the successful no-confidence motion and pursuant to the Constitution. The opposition People's Progressive Party Civic, PPPC, has repeatedly made calls for cabinet to resign. That party believes that the coalition is trying to hold on to power and has shown disregard for the country's supreme law, the Constitution. Commissioners representing both government and the opposition at the Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM, met yesterday to discuss elections preparations, but no definitive decisions were made. Government-appointed GECOM Commissioner Vincent Alexander, following another meeting between commissioners and GECOM Chairperson Justice Claudette Singh, said the discussions are ongoing. According to him, no timelines have been finalized for a possible date for elections. While on the other hand, opposition-appointed Commissioner Says Gunraj said the production of identification cards was placed on the agenda. However, he said that these proposals could easily delay elections by months.
Discussions are ongoing. The discussions are centered around things that are very technical. And at this point, I'm leaving before the meeting is concluded. Decisions have not yet been made. But I could say that you can see movement in terms of... So the issues that are being discussed will be the question of the list, the question of the cross-matching and production of ID cards.
Not a wasted day.
Why do you say that?
Wasted discussions. We are no way closer to the decisions of holding elections. We sat down, dealt with lots of irrelevant discussions, I believe, to holding elections in a credible, in a timely manner. Credible elections in a timely manner.
It has been reported by sections of the media that a team from GECOM, which included Deputy Chief Elections Officer Roxanne Myers and the Information Technology Manager, were in Jamaica observing the process of cross-matching fingerprints, while the printing ID cards in Jamaica is being considered. When GECOM decided to hold the house-to-house registration, it said the existing data it gathered from that exercise will be merged with the current voters list. It was subsequently revealed that Chief Elections Officer Keith Lowenfield would have prepared a plan proposing the time frame to merge the data with the register. GECOM's next meeting is scheduled for Friday at 1100 hours. The director of the National Center for Educational Resource Development, NSERD, was today presented with modified curriculum guides by the Department of Environment meant to integrate environmental science in the current school curriculum. We'll tell you more in this report.
Environmental Policy and Education Coordinator Alvin Doris disclosed that the project, which began in October last, stemmed from the lack of environmental coverage at the school level. He stated that the new curriculum was modified with a vision of what the school's curriculum should be from the standpoint of environmental coverage.
We brought together personnel with specialist educational background and experience in 4 key disciplines within the field of environment, and these are agriculture and forestry, biodiversity, climate change, and land geology and geography. So these persons review the school's curriculum guides from grade 1 through 9. And so we established this working group, and we reviewed the school's curriculum guides in those 4 subject areas named earlier. And we saw that the lack of environmental coverage provided us a great opportunity to propose what could be infused.
Director of NSERD, Jennifer Cumberbatch, in her remarks noted that the suggested modifications are important since the curriculum has not been updated despite the many changes that occurred throughout the world.
Long ago, in the 80s, early 80s, we weren't hearing much about climate change. We didn't know anything much about any green state development, but these are important changes that must be reflected in our new curriculum.
The director went on to state that the changes reflect this year's theme for Education Month and directly contributes to the development of the nation.
In this month of September, Education Month, we celebrate education under the theme Education, the key to development. And this, what we have been given, ends up being part of that key to the development of our curriculum and of our children.
According to the director, the suggestions are expected to be reviewed and the changes soon integrated into the current school curriculum. The suggestions tackle important environmental issues such as climate change, pollution, deforestation, among others. For Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day.
More than 800 scholarships have been issued to indigenous students. Minister within the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, Valerie Garrido, has said. The minister disclosed this information during an exclusive interview on the National Communications Network radio program Insight. In addition to the 800-plus scholarships issued across the levels of National Grade 6 Assessment, NGSA, the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, CSEC, and the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination, CAPE, for 2019, some 67 additional scholarships were granted for tertiary and vocational institutions. These include institutions such as the Bureau's School of Art, the Guyana Industrial Training Center, the Guyana School of Agriculture, Carnegie School of Home Economics, and the Government Technical Institute. It was also disclosed that 62 scholarships were awarded for students who will be leaving the hinterland to come to the city to undergo their studies at the secondary level. For those who would have fallen just short of the mark for a full scholarship, the ministry will still offer assistance, possibly in the form of uniforms for the year and monthly allowances. A total of 96 students would have qualified for this assistance. Minister Garrido also highlighted that as part of the Heritage Month activities, the Scholarship Division will also bring students from the hinterland regions for tours of the various landmarks and monuments within and around the city. We'll take another short break. Do stay with us.
Amro's Travel Service is pleased to support Globespan 24x7 broadcasts. We provide travel solutions via our 4 locations in Trinidad. Shibonas at 665-3383, Valpa 645-1604, Port of Spain 625-0800, and San Fernando at 652-4789. Remember, when you travel, Amro's is the way to go.
This newscast is brought to you with the kind compliments of Travelspan GT, with locations in Georgetown and Berbice. For all your travel needs, call Travelspan GT at 327-1701, located at Lot 3A North Road in Georgetown, between Camp and Wellington Street. In Rose Hall, call 337-4287, and in New Amsterdam, call 333-6230. Call Travelspan today.
Thanks for staying with us. We'll now take a look at our regional and international news. As rescue teams fan out in attempts to reach areas of the Bahamas devastated by Hurricane Dorian, dramatic accounts of survival are emerging from the blasted landscape of smashed and flooded homes. Dorian's punishing winds and torrential rain battered the islands of Abaco and Grand Bahama for more than a day and a half, which have a combined population of about 70,000 and are known for their marinas, golf courses, and all-inclusive resorts. The official death toll stood at 7 on Wednesday, but was certain to rise after the islands were blasted with winds of up to 185 miles per hour and a storm surge that sent waters lapping at the second story of homes. Dorian is currently lurking off the coast of Florida and will make a very close brush with the Carolinas. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has put the military on alert ahead of exercises along the border with Colombia, accusing the neighboring nation's president of plotting an attack as tensions mounted between the two South American countries. Open quote. Colombia's government doesn't want peace, Maduro told a class of officers in a nationally televised military ceremony late on Tuesday. It wants war. It wants violence. It was the latest salvo between Maduro and the Colombian president, who have traded accusations of harboring armed rebels recently. Animosity between Colombia and Venezuela flared last week when the former chief negotiator for the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or what they call FARC, announced he would take up arms again, saying the Colombian government had failed to uphold a 2016 peace accord. The president of Colombia and the Venezuelan opposition leader, Juan Guaido, have accused Maduro of harboring leftist fighters in Venezuela. Guaido declared himself interim president of Venezuela in January, claiming Maduro's 2018 re-election was invalid. He has been recognized by Colombia, the United States, and more than 50 countries. Friction escalated in recent days amid the protracted struggle between Maduro and Guaido, who wants to remove the socialist president entirely from the U.S. and Colombia, among others. The struggle has locked Venezuela in a political and economic crisis marked by hunger and mass migration as citizens attempt to secure their livelihoods elsewhere, which critics blame on more than 2 decades of socialist mismanagement. And now for a look at what's happening in the world of sport. Christoph Metzelder, 38, is on the investigation for allegedly sharing child pornography via the messaging service WhatsApp, German prosecutors confirmed on Wednesday. Open quote. We can confirm an investigation against Christoph Metzelder on suspicion of sharing child pornography, including digital images, and quote, a spokeswoman for the Hamburg prosecutor's office, Lili Unteren, told the AFP. The 2002 World Cup finalist is alleged to have used WhatsApp to send pornographic photos of children to a woman in Hamburg. The woman reported the images to the Hamburg police, who opened investigations alongside public prosecutors in August. It was confirmed that reports that investigators had carried out raids in 2 locations on Tuesday, but declined to give further details. According to a report in Spiegel magazine, the raids were on Metzelder's home and offices and led to the seizure of a laptop and a mobile phone. Metzelder played for major clubs such as Madrid and Borussia in a career spanning 15 years. He retired from football in 2014 and has since worked as a pundit for Sky Sports Germany. And finally, in sport, the Ghana Amazon Warriors is all set for its face-off with the St. Lucia Zouks tomorrow as they open the curtains to the biggest party in sport. Hoping to bring home its first title, lead coach Johan Botha is confident ahead of the match and the power of his team's lineup. He also stated that having a captain throughout the entire season is important.
But it's nice to have extra experience in your lineup. You know, with the 4 internationals, to have 3 other guys who've played IPL cricket is really good. And you know, at different times in this tournament, we'll have to draw on that. We're not all going to have the perfect games or the perfect series. So hopefully, you know, along the way, each of them can chip in and win us some games.
Over the years, you've had to chop and change captains at some point in the tournament. It must be a good thing that you have a skipper that would last the entire tournament.
That is nice. Yeah, last year was an interesting situation, but I thought we handled it pretty well. You know, managed it towards the end, which I suppose didn't look great from the outside, but to have an excellent international captain all the way through is really good for us. You know, he's really fit still, so you know, we can't really predict what could happen. Anyone can get an injury, but you know, for now, Shoaib's the man for the tournament.
The exciting match begins at 1800 hours at the Ghana National Stadium, Providence. And that has brought us to the end of today's news. Before you go, here's a recap of our major headlines. Government failed to put second plan in place for bridge mishap, says Edgel. CDC activates response mechanism to support the Bahamas. No election timelines finalized by GCOM, ID cards being discussed. Over 800 scholarships granted to indigenous students, and Aviation Authority awaits report on American airline runway mishap. Thanks for watching Globespan 24/7 News. On behalf of myself, Samuel Suknandon, the news and technical team, until next time, do have a pleasant rest of the evening. Goodbye for now.